Hello, hello on Earth. I said I was going to make a video about drug use. The Aphex Twin album. No, drugs. Yeah, drugs. Yep, and had a lot of things to say, and I haven't prepared this or gathered my thoughts in any way. But here we go, because I'm just angry about it at the moment. The hypocrisy of it all. So drugs, yes, drugs. I live in Ireland, and we are surrounded. We are a republic. Like China is a republic. And the RZA told me, or didn't tell me exactly what he said. There's no drugs in China. There are no drugs in China. Well, it might have been what he was told, but it's a massive place and it shares borders with countries that probably mass produce heroin and cocaine and all sorts of things. There's no drugs in the Republic of the People's Republic of China. I live in the Republic of Ireland, and we're surrounded by an ocean. We're an island. There's lots of drugs in Ireland. The thing about a republic is a republic is supposed to control everything. It's supposed to be a bit like Hobbesian. Hobbesian is like this political philosopher that like said you really need to have like a hold on everything in your society. You never know what could go on. And anyway, he probably wouldn't be a very democratic person, Thomas Hobbes. But which is a good point because you don't need to be politically valid to be a politician. You can be the raven lunatic society or something. I think it's terrible. You need to be qualified to be an electrician or something, and they'll test you. You need to be qualified to drive a car, and they'll test you. And you don't need to be qualified to be a politician. You can just be popular. And that's a Hobbesian nightmare in itself. Anyway, and that is a point I'm going to get onto actually. Anyway, I was talking about republics. So republics control everything, and if there's going to be crime, republics control crime. So my country, Ireland, bring a steady flow of marijuana, cocaine, and heroin into this country constantly. Particularly, things like heroin. Cocaine's a different one. They all have their own quality about them. Heroin is very necessary to bring into your country, believe me. And when you think, and I'm going to get into this, so much things to say, I'm overgood. Stigma about drugs. I'm going to jump around a bit because I haven't planned this out. You think about stigma about drugs. You think about words like drugs, or you think, it's even worse, drug dealer. Like the stigma around that term, drug dealer, is insane. You think they're the worst people in the entire world. You do. You just when you think drug dealer, you think, But I know I have so much to say. A very nice person. Is a lady person. I knew her from Bray. I don't want to talk too much about it. And she was the nicest person in the world. Nicest, and she was the most competent person in the world. And nobody would talk to all the other, messed up. Well, not messed up, but they're not very, on the ball all the time. And they would ask this nice lady to do things for them because. So, and this person went to jail. This lady went. This really nice, friendly, competent person went to jail for a very long time and wouldn't say a word. So spent a long time in jail, and under that term of being that drug dealer. And she wasn't a drug dealer at all. She made nothing from it except misery and fucking effort and thanklessness and paying for people that don't pay. And I'm just going to say, but it's just weird then that this person went away to prison classified as a drug dealer. Okay, so drugs are illegal, and I'm going to jump onto this now. Homosexuality used to be illegal. Yes, homosexuality used to be very illegal. And people went to public parks, people went to toilets and back alleyways to privately fornicate in certain ways because it was illegal. Now it's not illegal anymore, and it's very socially acceptable, and it's beautiful, and it's like, hi, it's Brad, this is Ken, we live across the road, we do a barbecue every Sunday, I'm more than welcome, we've got things in the back for kids we don't have, but we're more than happy to have you guys over, and it's a lovely thing, and of course, are lovely and friendly people, and, and they wouldn't rip you or rob you, and they're very nice and hardworking, and they really try to make their careers and stuff. Anyway, drugs are illegal, like homosexuality used to be illegal, and people go to public parks to take drugs, and people go to toilets to take drugs, and people go to underground car parks and things and alleyways to take drugs because they made them illegal, and because they're illegal, they're taboo, and you've made it a dirty thing. You've made it a bad and dirty thing, and you've forced it underground, and because you forced it underground, it's even dirtier. Like homosexuality used to be considered very dirty because again, people were fornicating in public toilets and public parks and things where you weren't like it was not exactly hygienic. And the same thing is going for people that are probably going to take drugs that you've forced it underground. Wait, what's the problem? Particularly a heroin cafe kind of thing. I really don't see the problem in. No, I was addicted to heroin when I was homeless. For I'm not bother talking about it for a year. I said no to every drug on the streets for a year. Only like marijuana. But after a year of living in a ditch and the insomnia, or not, the lack of sleep, good sleep, and the stomach pains and starvation, and it was a tough time. It was really tough. And heroin is the most powerful painkiller in the world. Just because you don't feel the pain doesn't mean, your body isn't suffering. That's what heroin does to your body, because you don't realize how tired and wrecked your body is, and you put it through a lot then. And you're running around all over the place thinking you're Superman, and then when the heroin's gone away, you realize how broken your bones and muscles and everything. But anyway, yeah, I could sleep and I could eat, and at the time it was very functional and very it worked well for me at the time. And then the second I got away from the streets, I tried to get away from it because I didn't need the most powerful painkiller in the world anymore. Um, anyway, just jumping around on stigma. Well, I just want to talk about around the topic of heroin and what I've learned from the heroin world. Like funny things in train spotting that nobody else would get. You don't want to know though. It's not worth the humor. Don't worry. It's a death contract actually. You will die. The devil will come and try to kill you if you try to get off here. Yes. Anyway, the only reason I didn't like heroin at all, I would have probably kept going with heroin, but it's extremely illegal. It's like a class A monitored substance, and I've hated, absolutely hated, needing to survive to get heroin and knowing that it was extremely illegal. I was technically a criminal, you know? And I felt bad that I was like in this horrible predicament and this guilt of being a criminal. Well, I just needed to survive. You wouldn't understand how horrible it is without it. I'm not going to get into it. I don't talk too much about it. But anyway, you would be absolutely amazed at what I learned from heroin. The amount of people that are on heroin in your world around you, in a pill form, maybe some pharmaceuticals style. They're not exactly smoking trays or taking injections. I know there's a lot of just assumptions that heroin is something to do with injection. That's only if you've been going to be on heroin for the rest of your life, and it just makes more sense than losing your teeth and smoking. But anyway, judges, surgeons, doctors, lawyers, loads of them. Loads of them are all because they need a perfect day. They need a steady hand. They need things to go well. And when you have heroin in your life, things go well. That's why the song is called Perfect Day. When you don't have heroin, everything goes wrong. And that's when you need to score drugs. When everything's going wrong. And that's a really bad nightmare. But again, if you've got a lot of money and comfort and convenience, it's not really a problem to you to have your perfect day every day. So again, you think someone like heroin addicts or you think heroin addict, and you think something bad. You think some lad in a toilet in a bus station taking heroin when you would be absolutely we wouldn't be devastated, but the amount of super professionals, super construction workers need perfect solicitors, lawyers, again surgeons and doctors, especially if not heroin then some sort of similar opioid kind of thing. All drugs are technically sodomy. We don't even know exactly what they do. Like, I love marijuana, but it's certainly Christian related or related to Christianity or something, and Buddha and Christian. And we wouldn't know the affectations. I know heroin is very spiritual or has a spiritual aspect that nobody really knows. I know things about crack cocaine that are very weird and spiritual to do with dead people and names and things, and you wouldn't want to know about the American soldiers that were coming in back from Afghanistan in the movie. They weren't smuggling the cocaine. I'll just tell you that. But it had something to do with dead young men, dead soldiers. Where am I going on this? Yes, you see, like insane that everybody. Anyway, so all right, I'm jumping on to. I say, my child gets found with a quarter ounce of marijuana, and my child is brought to court. I'm a mother, I'm a streetwise mama. And my child is being charged with drug possession for owning a quarter. It's more than enough for personal consumption, but it's a comfortable amount for personal consumption. Really, a quarter ounce. Cute. I would stand up in the court and say, why did my child find drugs on your streets? Rather than your child is a criminal for finding drugs on our streets. And again, Ireland bring a steady flow of marijuana, cocaine, and tobacco into this country and flood the streets with it. And they regulate it and control it, with dark hands and Republican things. And the guards, the Gardaí and all are very corrupt and they need lots of dirty guys. But technically everybody's a cop. I was even sitting on a bus with that lady friend actually that I was talking about, and I was thinking that people around me were like, "Oh, maybe we should call the police." It's like, we fucking are the police, in a very strange way. Once you're kind of copped on to things, you kind of are a cop. Some of them get paid, we don't. If you're copped on, but so yeah, it's a republic. The republic is supposed to control, like China can control their streets, and there's no drugs in China. I'd get up in court and say, why did my child find drugs on your streets, and why is my child to blame? So this is where the fake war on drugs generates from, because some intelligent mama like myself got up and said this, and then the government said, "Oh, we're doing everything we can to keep drugs off the streets," which is absolute. They're not. They regulate it. It's a republic. Guards down in Longford or something were putting recycling heroin in and out of the station. So they're putting it out and they're bringing it back, and and it's Training Day. Like, I love that film so much. It just gives me so much relief and consolation in life to know that somebody was allowed to publish these kind of truths about how the world works, the game works. The police know every crime in the book. They're technically the most proficient criminals in the world. You pay them because they're the most proficient criminals in the world not to be a criminal. But it's very probably tempting for a police officer to be a criminal because they know it all. They could retire very early with just a little scam or fraud or two, because they've got the entire book, the history of frauds and scams. I think you learn in prison. Sign up to be a guard and you learn all the tricks. So anyway, there's got a fake war. They have a fake war then on drugs, and it makes a lot of money. And taxpayers are paying for these police to have this fake war on drugs that they're probably staging most of the time, but again, controlling and regulating. And in terms of like heroin, particularly, people know that you're going to need your heroin, and they need to regulate that. And if you don't get the okay or the go ahead to go and get your heroin, you have to go up and stand around in a dodgy area, and you have to go and stand around in a very open, dodgy area. And some lads from like Sinn Féin area might give you the go ahead, yeah, he's grand, whatever, and then they'll give permission for you to get what you need to survive. For any little silly reason, because again, this isn't exactly all legitimate government, or this isn't all judges and stuff. For any reason or silly amount of gossip or hearsay, you can get stabbed, for not getting your go ahead. I was like, why doesn't he have a go ahead? And it was gossip and crap talked about me on the streets, which was very contrived. Or I think it was mistaken identity mostly. Some kid with a skateboard that talks a lot, big loudmouth. Oh yeah, him. Yeah, no, him. Yeah, always skating and screaming his head off. Not the only kid with a skateboard that's a bit loudmouth. Anyway. So then there's a fake war on drugs, and you pay for this fake war on drugs. And the Gardaí seem to love this war on drugs, where war on drugs is really just a war on very low rag tax evasion. It's not like you're dodging tax on buildings you're building all over the place and millions. You're dodging taxes on a few trays of Valium, technically. Or you're dodging unwritten taxes on marijuana trade. Oh yeah, this is where I'm going to get onto it. Thailand recently legalized marijuana. And if you recall the very strange predicament of about a year or two ago, and not to say anything about Thailand, but the police were a bit like a little, corrupt. Okay, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to say that about a country. I don't want to say like the Thai police corrupt. But anyway, it seems very scary. It all seemed very scary in Thailand, and to be found with marijuana. Now, it's interesting about this. They legalized it. Okay, at the moment in Ireland, crooked cops and the crooked system, the crooked republic, the dirty, rotten republic system, they earn 100, if not like 150%. Of the untaxed marijuana, for example, just talk about marijuana, the crooked cops, the crooked system, they get all of it and more. If it were to be legalized, nerds, accountants and nerds and politicians would get about 20 or 30%. So this is why it doesn't change. This is why things actually don't get legalized when they're already corrupt, like Thailand. Maybe, I don't want to say corrupt, but Ireland, just in the same sort of sense, the corrupt system is running it and gaining 100, if not more, 200%. It's not legal, so it's going to be more expensive. A bit of saffron costs this, and you can say a bit of marijuana fucking costs 10 times saffron or 100 times saffron. So the crooked cops will hold on to the monopoly over their game. They don't want that going away at all. And you're going to need the nerdy accountants to kind of want to legalize things and get their 20 to 30% of legal taxing. See, they'd lose money if it was taxing. You always think, why don't they legalize it? They'd make so much money. No, well, particularly the crooked cops would lose so much money. So much money. You've no idea how much they circulate it and regulate it and how much money they churn. And it's all in the name of police duty. It's all very legitimate police duty, what they're doing. They don't have to worry about feeling illegal, distributing and circulating drugs. We feel guilty then. It's just weird that they put the shame back on the people who are technically their monkey or rats, you know what I mean? But then it's just like I was just down the river the other day with some of the boys, and for some reason, like everything felt so illegal, and I was like, "These aren't doing anything." You know what I mean? He's really are. You're dodging a few taxes on a few trays of Valium or something. You hardly aren't, you know, in the higher eyes of the law, you know. But then for some reason, these people are focused on because they're down the river. They're the old lads down the river. Lovely, you know, everyone great characters. But for some reason, like in town, like they'd seem like the most illegal people. They'd seem like the hottest people in the town, hanging out down by the river with a few trays of Valiums and a few cans and a few things going on. And no, it's like they're not like again, homosexuality is illegal, or like then gentleman's club. As I actually call it, the Riverside Gentleman's Club. But yeah, then there's nothing illegal about it. People down and out on their luck in life just need a few fucking Valiums to kind of stay cheerful and stay on good forms. So you don't go fucking jump off the bridge or jump into the river. And it really is the furthest thing from the world. Like in the Epicurean sense, everybody's trying to escape pains or sufferings and move towards some level of comfort and convenience in life. I don't see like it's just weird that I know the stigma has just made it that these guys are the dodgiest and in town. I was like, why? You're fucking having a few cans down by the river, listening to some nice music. At a Valium, mix drinking and alcohol and Valium, though, kids. That's a really bad combination. No, I'm just saying, like, that you have no memory and you will. Yeah, you don't do that. I've never actually done it, but I've seen it. It looks scary. Drunken Valium. Really scary. Yeah, wake up in a ditch with nothing in your pockets every time you do that, I would say. Anyway, I have more to say about drug cues at the Aphex Twin album. I think that's how it says. It's drug cues. Drug cues. So that sounds like drug use. From my memory. Yeah, anyway, about getting stabbed in the head. For not getting my go-ahead to go get my heroin. If there was a heroin cafe, or a cafe, like they call it in France, and like in places, it's called a cafe, yes. You can go and get some coffee, and then you can probably get some nice heroin. And it's just, like, if you just made it dignified. Cocaine's difficult. I was thinking about this, like how to deal with cocaine. Like marijuana cafes, obviously, that's cool. That's easy to accommodate. And that's like cocaine sports bars, alcohol and cocaine, and the place would get robbed. So, it wouldn't last long, the dream. So it would be hard to regulate or distribute. I don't like cocaine really at all. A few times I've had it, I did enjoy it because I just play piano like a mad thing, like a bee on, like a bee on, play piano, like suddenly. And I did magic mushrooms once, and I could speak Latin. It was pretty hilarious. Anyway, but yeah, not for me. Anyway, trying to preserve my brain. But anyway, again, I feel like a criminal because I even tried to source myself. It's not even illegal actually in Ireland. Personal use of about 3 or 4 grams of marijuana. So three actually, 3 or 4 is legal. I think is up to 3 or 4 is legal, or whatever it is you're actually allowed to. But then there's a relativity of the distribution, probably. And again, that's what I hate about it. I was like, drug dealers are my heroes. Really are, I mean, like I was saying about my lady friend, she was like self-sacrificing and putting herself on the line and putting herself in crappy drama and loads of stuff, just trying to help other people. And I love drug dealers for that reason because they seem to bear the crux of this political equilibrium that the government have laid on you. Again, you're the criminal when you're actually like victim. You're now your lamb, like to this. That's right. You're the victim. So you have this kind of shame and guilt, and you kind of accept that even in yourself. that you think it's something bad and shameful, and you're a bad person because you take drugs, and that is a stigma about it. If you take drugs, you're a drug taker, and again, drug dealer is even worse than drug taker. It's funny. It's like, man, I don't take drugs. I smoke drugs. Police take my drugs. I'm not a drug taker. Sorry, that's not drug humor. But it's, yeah, just overwhelmed, Anyway, the victimization. What was I talking about? Feeling bad. Personal use. You're allowed personal use of marijuana, but the distribution comes in. Drug dealers I love drug dealers. Yeah, they bear the crux of this social equilibrium, this bad social equilibrium that government are too lazy to do and sort out and solve for themselves, or again too corrupt to legitimize things, and again legitimizing homosexuality and like made the world a very different place. And I think legitimizing and legalizing all drugs. Stop lying to yourself, especially Ireland. It's like we have a war on drugs. You all love the drugs, Gardaí and all that. Everybody loves their drugs in Ireland. It's like Scotland and stuff. Just lying to yourself about it, criminalising it and calling us the criminals. And saw a good French movie about that once. The hypocrisy of it all. And some French politicians were like putting down this and they were stamping down this in the prison. And then their friend comes in with these big chunks of cocaine. You're like, oh, yes, like it's just cordial business. Lying to yourselves. Yeah, drug dealers are great people. They really are. I'm not talking about people that apparently make money off other people's suffering, because that's the angle they play against drug dealers. These are kids that are probably surviving or proficient in their own environment. And you might come from a rough neighborhood and you just need to survive and be proficient in your own environment. Um, Again, so that's proficiency. Competency, you're going to need to survive in that kind of game. So they're very proficient and very competent people, and they're supplying people and things that people need to keep them from jumping into the rivers, and just to keep them happy in life. But there's a stigma against about being happy in life or something, and these people are deemed as worse again when it's not socially distributed properly, and the government are a rotten republic and are distributing it themselves from the top down, and then the crux falls on this midway street where it hits the streets, and if you get found with enough for the Gardaí to take it off you, then you're a criminal, and you're not a criminal, you're a victim, or you're a hard-working, proficient young person um, that sorted me probably out with marijuana a good few times in my life. So, or saved me from killing myself and sorted me out with the heroin period, the year on heroin. You want to talk about it? Don't want to talk about it more, but when you go into things like methadone or fentanyl, and again, the government more so monopolizing over your misery. That is much more. A heroin dealer, I'd say again, heroin dealer, person who sorts you out heroin is really not a bad person. Um, they're probably actually very caring and very empathetic, very caring and empathetic to go out of their way. Again, to put themselves in so much risk. They're not making money off it all, but they know and understand that people will kill themselves if they don't have their heroin. So they're very caring as well. Again, going out of their way. But again, you think they're the biggest criminals and crooks in the world, or the worst, nastiest things in the world, when they're again kind, caring, and competent. We've built on the taboo of the word drug dealer. Drug dealer. Yeah, and most drug dealers don't make money. And that's I always thought that most things that are drug dealers are just friends sorting out friends. When I was young about marijuana, young and smoking listen pot when I was a kid, it's like it wasn't like I was dealing. Like, oh, I'll get like a half ounce and I'll sell a bag or two to my friends, and they're happy and I make some money back. And it's not exactly like I'm a drug dealer, or it's not like I'm making money. It's just friends being friendly. Um, so again, you're gonna have to be, but it's just a different thing. It's like just say you're just selling drugs or distributing drugs, and you might not. You're just being friends. You're just like friends. Um, yeah. So yeah, debunking the word drug dealer. Yeah, the biggest scandal is then if you want to get away from heroin, which is impossible, you go on to methadone, which is legally distributed by the government, and they get paid per 10 mil, and they will throw it at you. I wanted to get away from gear and from methadone, and they just kept throwing it at me, throwing it. And I was like, no, I want to go down. I want to decrease. I want to get away. I have advice for you if anyone is trying to get away. Bring it down as low as you can go. Sorry, this might be specific. To bring it down as low as you can go to 30. Oh, I got to 30. And then start taking it every second day. And then start taking it every third day. That's how I got through. And then you won't sleep for an entire week. An entire week. um, at all. Not a week, for explicitly 7 days. Some people said it's 2, but then you realise I think that's a heroin joke because it feels like 2 weeks because you've been awake twice as much. So people say you'll be awake for 2 weeks because you're awake solid for one whole week. So it's night and day. So I think that's where the 14 joke comes from. Little things you miss in train spotting you that you don't want to know about anyway. It's not worth the humor. What was I saying? You don't need the world's strongest painkiller. Nobody is, well, like, I was in a lot of pain, but like, if you need the world's strongest painkiller, you'll be given, morphine in a hospital when you need it. Nobody needs it. And another thing I just like to say from my experiences isn't, hopefully this isn't treading on personal information, but when I was with the methadone clinic, you would be terrified actually to see the amount of young women that went through that place that at some point in their lives just smoked out in a bag of gear and then smoked it again the next day, and that's their life gone. You would be very, I don't, it's kind of personal, it's weird to say. I don't really want to say where the clinic was in Dublin, and I wasn't, but no, it wasn't even in Dublin. But you'd be very, 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 very surprised to see the amount of young women that have a methadone subscription for life. Probably, it's more addictive probably than heroin, and you won't get away from it. It's very difficult to get away. If you think heroin's bad, the devil comes after you on methadone. But anyway, the amount of money that the government make off your methadone is massive, or that circulates or regulates through the system. So if you're talking about making money off people's misery, drug dealers aren't there friendly, again, kind and competent person putting themselves under risk for your happiness or your well-being or your peace of mind. And the government know how to properly make money off your misery, and they'll keep you there. They wouldn't let me get away from it. They throw more and more of it. Actually, they throw more. The more and more methadone they can throw at you, the better, because they get paid per 10 mil. People be on 140 mil a day or something like this, and they've got hundreds of these victims. Basically, I used to call them, or was it was victim? Wasn't victims like? It's not an addiction. It's an infliction. Yeah. So yeah, making money off misery. And you're to blame. Remember, you're to blame about your misery and suffering. You're the criminal. You're to blame about all this. And again, this is specifically talking about Ireland, because there's very taut Republican ethos, where yous are all ashamed in Irish. Guards would be laughing if you knew the truth. They'd be breaking their balls anyway. So I have hopefully exhausted most things. Hopefully I want to go and get a beer. Taxed, yay. Still feel guilty even buying tobacco. That's so heavily taxed. What's it with the tax in Ireland? We're supposed to be super rich. I was looking, I doesn't really jump on this thing, but I just saw VAT on my receipts recently. I think seemed very reasonably priced before the VAT. I was like, oh yeah, I would pay that for that actually. That's grand, the price of that. And then the VAT is like a third. Like 100, or yeah, what is it? A third extra, 133% or something. It's madness, and we're supposed to be wealthy, very, very wealthy as it is. All our politicians are millionaires. So why is the VAT so high on produce products? It's just weird, painfully weird. Like I paid like €14 for 3 little cables, and then on the receipt it said they were only about a tenner. I was like, oh, a tenner seems alright actually. I was like, well, am I paying €14? Extra €4 on a €10 product, in a very super wealthy country, and Miami paying the bill at the moment. Yeah, so Drug Use, it's a pretty good album. Give it a listen. It's really cool, authentic samples and weird things. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Drug Use. I think it's a 2-disc as well. I said it's loads of. Richie Lax's, yeah. Creativity. Oh yeah, and I was going to throw that in before the very end. I think it was Bill Hicks. All that music you love. All those movies you love. All the great books you love. All on drugs. Actually, if you knew about I don't know what to say if you knew about it, but you are all on drugs actually. If not even through Christianity or Bupa healthcare. You are all on drugs. Or a lot of people are on drugs. There's people in catacombs on IVs of LSD keeping you all happy. And that's fine. There are people in cement tunnels under your country tripping their balls on acid 24/7. to maintain a happy, peaceful standard of life. Yeah, we are all on drugs. So yeah, we went to see heroin cafes. I don't think the cocaine bars will work. And legalize my weed and get paid, nerds. Yeah, go, nerds. Get paid. Rob the crooked cops. Yeah. Alright, you're not criminals. You're not victims. Okay. Please. Gay love. Drugs love. Love drugs. Okay.